Hi, Bother Brigade. Here's what's bothering me today. We're doing something a little different today because it's just something that has been on my mind for a while, and I kind of wanted to talk about it. And that's about current methods of dating, particularly online dating. I know I've mentioned this in a previous video, but that was just about women's safety with online dating, which, I mean, I get it. There's a lot of creeps out there, unfortunately. But I also have an issue with just how the whole thing is set up to exist. Now, this isn't exactly me saying, "Oh no, I just can't get anyone to date me online." Like, I've actually had several exes now at this point that came from online dating. I have matches. But that's the thing. I can get a lot of matches, but not always a lot of connection. And that, for me, for a variety of reasons, is very hard to do in a strictly online space, especially at first. Sure, yeah, I've had a few exes now who came from online dating, but the majority of my relationships have come from just being at a party or bumping into someone at, a protest or, hanging out with friends at a park and they brought some other friends and you start chatting. Like, that's normally how things have gone for me. Never really just, swiping left or right, which is always the first impression. And so first impressions, like, sure, we have the saying about how first impressions are really important, and they are. But because of this, it's commodifying connection. And so you have to try and compete against everyone else. And so there are certain things that kind of, I guess, get pushed to the forefront or something. And it results in a lot of dishonesty and just fakeness, for lack of a better term. I really don't enjoy having to, decide based on, it feels like I'm reading someone's resume, and like, as other people can tell you, it's just so weird and often dehumanizing. And so for me, it's already just difficult just to, by text-based communication alone. So that's already a disadvantage for me when it comes to online dating. But then there's also the whole, I need pictures of me, traveling or being active, but I don't really take pictures that often. I'm kind of just, I just go out there and vibe and then I just come back. I don't take an awful lot of pictures, as many of you will likely point out. So, that for me just kind of makes online dating all the more difficult. I'm supposed to compare myself to other people and try and put, the best possible foot forward, which is objectively a good thing. But then that also means that there's this pressure, right? This outside peer societal pressure to kind of try and fit into some kind of conformity, which A, is not who I am, and B, just not kind of how I operate. But yet this is what's becoming popular and so used and relied upon by millions of people everywhere. And again, it's not to say I haven't had success with it, but there's definitely something wrong with the situation when we're commodifying human connection and love, quotation marks there, while also, trying to force this as the new normal. This is somehow progress, and there's just something really weird about the whole thing that doesn't sit right with me, and that's what's bothering me today.
Hey there, welcome to That Dang Dad. My name is Phil, and tonight we're going to do another installment of my fatherly advice series. This was a thing I did one of like 2 years ago and then never did again. The inspiration for tonight's video came from a conversation I was having with one bothered boy about dating apps. At the same time, I was talking to a bisexual friend of mine about her experiences chatting with men on those same apps. She sent me screenshots of some of the DMs that she'd received, and woof. As a fellow bicycle, I too remember briefly chatting with men on dating apps like OkCupid and finding the experience unappealing. I have, however, married 2 different people that I met on dating apps, and the second one even stuck. So tonight, I thought I would give the fellas out there a little advice on how not to act like a creep on dating sites, and just maybe, how to find a real human connection. Now, I want to get this out of the way up front. When people complain about men on dating apps, Typically, they're talking about cis men. I haven't heard too many horror stories about trans men on dating sites, and I would imagine a large part of that comes down to the fact that society renders trans men invisible. That said, I think the advice that I'm about to give is just as useful for trans and cis men alike, as well as anyone else trying to make a connection on a dating site. Everyone is capable of being a goober, myself included. So I'm going to be addressing men as a fellow man, trying to set a good example, but ladies, non-binary folks, you're welcome here too, if for no other reason than to fact check me and offer your own experiences in the comments. Oh, and fellas, have you been mistreated by a non-fella on these apps? Stick with me, I'm going to talk about that too. Anyway, to start, I want to acknowledge something. In a lot of ways, online dating is tough. Typically, it happens through for-profit apps, even if you're not paying, and they each have their own little gimmick. The apps have a financial incentive to keep you in-app for as long as they can, so they have an incentive to keep you shopping. Lots and lots of faces whizzing by, lots of different filters or mechanics designed to serve up different batches of merchandise. In my opinion, this subtly transforms the real person on the other end of that profile into an Amazon product page, one of many that you scroll through looking for the best deal, the highest rating, what you can get out of it. So fellas, while I do not absolve us of our oafish tendencies, these platforms are designed to commodify the people that we're talking to. But deep down, you're a good person, you're looking for a genuine connection, so if you take nothing else away from tonight, let it be this. You are interacting with a fellow human being with fears, insecurities, dreams, and needs. Someone who wants to feel less alone, just like you. Do not treat these profiles like Instagram ads. Treat them the way you want to be treated when you make yourself vulnerable. To that end, I'm going to give you some do's and don'ts based on conversations that I've had with people who date men via dating apps. Let's start with an easy one. Fellas, particularly at the beginning of an interaction with someone on a dating site, do ask them some genuine questions about themselves. For the most part, people love to talk about themselves, and people feel really gratified if another person seems interested in what they have to say. A good online dating DM sesh should ideally see a nice rhythm of conversation. A little about you, a little about them, stuff you're passionate about, stuff they're passionate about. If one side asks all the questions and the other side doesn't, it signals a lack of interest, even if you didn't mean it to. And honestly, compared to meeting someone at a bar, online dating has one big advantage. People give you plenty of icebreakers on their profile before you ever make contact. You have no excuse to zipline into someone's DMs with, "Hey beautiful, what's up?" when, depending on the site, they have curated lists of different interests, hobbies, passions, or projects that they have going on. I can't tell you the number of screenshots I've seen from women friends of mine where she asks a ton of questions and gets short answers from the guy, who in turn asks nothing. This is exhausting for them. Now, if you're genuinely not interested, there's no need to fake enthusiasm, but many times when my women friends have interpreted a lack of questions as a lack of interests and tried to move on, the guy on the other end acts offended or confused, as if things had been going so well. This tip is for those men. Now, I say all this with a caveat. Please use good judgment about what questions you ask a stranger who doesn't know you very well. What's the last movie you watched that you really connected with? It's a great question. It's going to spark a good conversation.
Do you sleep naked? And also, do you live alone?
Is a bad question that's probably going to freak out the other person unless you have a very specific vibe going already. Which leads me to my next tip. Except in very specific circumstances, don't jump straight to sex stuff right away. Here's the deal. Many people on dating sites like to fuck. Some people on dating sites do not like to fuck. Some people on dating sites like to fuck strangers, no strings attached. Many people do not like to fuck somebody that they barely know, especially if they come from an identity group that is frequently the victim of sexual violence. There is simply no way to know which one of these you're talking to without establishing some kind of rapport first. I'm friends with a lot of sex-positive kinksters who absolutely love to smash, and even they get turned off by strangers who can barely pretend to be interested in them as a human being for 5 minutes before asking for nudes. Now, if you're on FetLife or Adult Friend Finder or like super nasty kink sites like Christian Mingle, sure, most of the people on the site are there with something specific on their mind, and maybe it's the same thing you have on your mind. But the average mainstream vanilla dating site is much different than a kink site And you should behave a little more judiciously if you're looking to make a connection. In a similar vein, just because somebody that you're chatting with on a dating site is queer, this does not automatically mean that they are sexually available to you or interested in threesomes or whatever. Bi, pan, and particularly trans women are often fetishized on these sites and treated like vehicles for male fantasy instead of human beings with hopes and dreams. Don't be that guy. Think of it this way. Even the most libertine, polyamorous, sexual gourmand wants to have their consent and their humanity respected. Even people with humiliation kinks have boundaries. People who enjoy risky sex still want to feel safe in certain ways. No one wants to be murdered or end up in an abusive situation. So anyone who's hypothetically open to sex with you is going to be evaluating you, assessing whether you respect their consent, whether their pleasure matters to you, whether you'll meet their needs, and whether or not they're going to end up on the wrong end of a true crime podcast. A recurring theme for this video is straight out of How to Win Friends and Influence People. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Which brings me to a delicate topic that I think I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and discuss it. My in-laws watch this channel. Nana, Granda, I'm sorry for what you're about to hear, but there is a crisis in our great nation, and I am duty-bound to confront it. My fellas, my dudes, my brothers in Christ, the dick pics. They're no good. I'm sorry to have to be blunt, but it needs to be said. 99% of wiener photos getting dumped into people's text messages have all the artistic grace of a mugshot. The lighting is fucked up. The angles are unappealing. There's no mystery, no seduction, no eroticism. Maybe this is acceptable on Grindr, but your Tinders, your Hinges, your Bumbles, your OK's Cupid, nobody is excited to receive these, especially unprompted. No surprise dick pic has ever made someone's day, but trust me, many have ruined it. Now, are there better production design and cinematography techniques you can use? Absolutely, but I would argue that the best techniques are the ones your enthusiastically consenting recipient should be explicitly requesting. Maybe they want a steamy bubble bath scenario. Maybe they have a thing for gym shorts. Maybe they want to see you put a little top hat on it so they can call it your fancy lad. I don't know. All I know is let them ask first. Please, I'm begging you. Okay, enough said, moving on. This next tip sounds like a cliche, but go with me. Do please be your authentic self when online dating. People looking for a connection want to know what you're really like, what you really think, what it would be like to really be around you. But very often the meat market nature of dating sites not only causes you to commoditize the profiles that you're browsing, it can cause you to treat yourself like a product. This can make you feel like you need to brag or zhuzh up your personality to stand out from the crowd. And sure, put your best foot forward, but don't lie or pretend to be something that you're not. For example, don't hide your own needs because you think the other person won't respect them. If you're a quiet introvert who hates clubbing, don't pretend to be Mr. Party Animal just to make someone else happy. You'll be miserable and moping at the bar, and they'll feel that bad energy and it won't be good for anyone. You are worthy of having your needs met. On the flip side, don't be a try-hard just to impress someone. My friend has a PhD, and when guys on dating sites find out halfway through the conversation, they start using bigger words very obviously. This comes across as really insecure. Or they'll bust out some feminist lingo at the beginning of the conversation and then immediately become dismissive, belittling, or otherwise paternal, proving that the lingo is just for show. People know when you're trying to make them feel small so that you can feel big. Don't do it. Oh, and just as an aside, I have yet to hear from anyone that loves being called pet names right away. You might want to rethink your day one. Hey, beautifuls. What's up, little ladies? Every woman that I talked to about this gave a knowing eye roll. Skip the pet names. It kills the vibe. Sometimes men think they need to be unsmiling and mysterious. However, what to you may seem intriguing can to many people seem arrogant or overly self-serious. Smile a little, let your guard down. Even worse, some men think that they need to use linguistic manipulation techniques to have the power in an interaction so that the other person will feel intrigued or allured by the control, and man, that's just an ugly way to treat people. Confidence is sexy. Trying to trick or manipulate people is a huge red flag. Now, fellas, you may not actually feel confident. You might not actually think very highly of yourself. You might think that you don't have a lot to offer someone. That's a normal feeling. I think a lot of us have gone through that at times. But even if you don't feel very lovable, you do deserve to be loved. You deserve sincere human connections, and you deserve closeness and tenderness. You're a human being worthy of affection. And you know something? I know some guys really do get mistreated on these sites. I know you short kings out there haven't always been treated with dignity when women find out your height. I know you curvaceous warriors out there sometimes get ghosted when the full body pics get traded. And I know Asian men in particular get treated really badly on dating sites. And that sucks, and it's wrong, and it feels bad. But the answer is not false bravado, it's not douchey swagger, and it is certainly not pickup artist bullshit like negging or trying to spark jealousy. There's a cottage industry of lonely misogynists out there who want to exploit your pain and your insecurity, both to make themselves feel more important and to lash out at others so that other people feel the same pain they're feeling. Fellas, this way leads to a deep soul sickness. You will not find the intimacy and connection that you're seeking at the end of this path. It's counterintuitive and it's not an instant silver bullet, but in my experience, the answer is to accept and to lean into your vulnerability. This does not mean sliding into someone's DMs and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry I'm such an ugly piece of shit who sucks, but would you have pity on me, Stinko the trash boy, and let me buy you some coffee with my shit-stained dumpster dollars?" Do not guilt people into interacting with you. What it does mean is being honest about who you are, where you're at in life, and respecting the other person enough to let them decide if they vibe with you. When I met my current partner on OkCupid, I was at the lowest point in my life. I had quit my very well-paying cop job. I had moved out of state for a long-distance relationship only to get dumped right when I arrived. I was running out of money. I was working a go-nowhere job that I hated. I was living in a tiny basement studio. I had no friends in town, no family, no nothing. The thought of taking someone back to my sad sack dungeon after a date was horrifying. But what was my other option? To pretend I was thriving? To make up a bunch of stories about how great I was? To find excuse after excuse not to let someone see my basement shame hole? I was very open with my now partner about where I was at in life because that was my story. That was who I was. And you know what? It turned out that was fine by her. Were there other people on OkCupid for whom my situation wouldn't have been a great fit? Of course. But they get to make that choice and do what's best for them. And in being my authentic self, I got to meet somebody who loved me for me, shame hole and all. It's not easy to own your own vulnerability, particularly in the United States. Men are trained to act tough, to never show weakness, to put on a character that they think people want. But I'm telling you, that's not the way to find real human connection. You can't pretend forever, and if you trick someone into liking the fake you, they're gonna find out and dump the real you. Whoever is telling you to put on a mask because you're not enough is fucking lying to you. You are enough just the way that you are. You are enough. So yes, as a human being, you deserve love and tenderness. But brother, I need you to remember, you are not entitled to any specific person's love or tenderness just because you want it. You're not entitled to their time. You're not entitled to their attention or their interest. In the same way that you want your needs respected, you gotta respect other people's needs and let them freely choose whether they want to have a conversation, a date, or a relationship with you. And that will mean having to eat some rejections. I've been rejected more times than I can count, and it sucks ass every time. But you only get the highs of sincere human intimacy by being vulnerable to the lows of human rejection. There's no way around it if you want something consensual and authentic. I keep coming back to the word consent, and I think it's such a huge key to being decent online. So often we think of consent in physical, sexual terms, but it goes way beyond that. It's about honoring the autonomy and validity of someone else's needs. So much bad behavior on dating sites can be boiled down to someone showing disregard for the other person's agency, not seeing or caring about things from their perspective. When you lie, when you manipulate, when you get sexually aggressive, when you nag or pout or whine or badger or refuse to respect a boundary, you're telling the other person that their autonomy is less important than your immediate desires, that what they need is less important than what you want. Would you feel good if another person said that your human dignity mattered less than their self-centered cravings? Of course you wouldn't. So if you're online dating, just know that there are thousands of guys out there making people feel disrespected in that way. Don't be just another one of them. I'm going to say it one more time in closing. There are real flesh and blood people on the other end of these profiles. People struggling with loneliness, insecurities, past rejections, and many times, past abuses and really bad experiences. A dating site should not be treated like a solo puzzle game where you put in the right code to win a makeout session. You don't solve people. You meet them. You dialogue with them. You negotiate with them. And you honor their needs in the same way they should be honoring yours. And if that results in a connection, wonderful. And if it doesn't, in its own way, that's wonderful too, because no one should be forced to be in a crappy relationship. So, what do you say, boys? Do my words ring true, or do you think I missed something? Oh, and if you think I'm acting high and mighty, I assure you, in the past I have been, chief among sinners. These lessons were hard won. Ladies, NBs, all the other non-boys out there, how'd I do? Is there any other message that you have for my brave, beautiful internet sons? Please let them know down below. And everyone, please keep it chill down there. If I see anybody acting shitty, I am banishing you to the outer darkness. Anyway, I hope this was worthwhile for you. Please stimulate the like button, subscribe if you fell in love, and please share this with people that you think need to hear it. Friends, if we can stop the deployment of even one unsolicited dick pic, this entire channel will have been worth it. Anyway, thank you to Bothered Boy for teeing up this discussion for us in the beginning. Please go ahead and check out his channel for snackable political rants. I also consulted with Little Hoot, mainly Mandy, Dr. Ricky Tremblay, and my own betrothed. It takes a village. And last but not least, thank you all for your time tonight. I hope to see you on the next one. Good night.